Hungary's only nuclear power plant is set to suspend operations because of record low water levels on the fabled Danube River. Officials say the Pax nuclear plant may not come back online for a number of weeks as the river is expected to continue receding. The Soviet-built plant accounts for nearly half of Hungary's electricity production. Water from the Danube cools its reactors. Hungary's Prime Minister is asking residents to scale back energy use.
We're facing the most critical 5 days ahead. Monday, the Pax power plant will not be generating while the hottest 40-degree days are ahead. The power grid, our public services, and ourselves will all come under enormous strain.
I'd like to bring in Hungary-based journalist Stefan Bose, who's in Budapest, to shed more light on this. Stefan, with the Pax plant now fully offline, where's Hungary getting its electricity from, and how worried are people about blackouts?
Well, people are extremely worried about blackouts because it seems to be that indeed the Pax plant will be out of order for some time. What we also know is that another energy plant has now been put into action. However, that doesn't seem enough to help all settlements. Here in Budapest, here behind me, the Danube is really low, and that impacts a number of villages, but also towns. In fact, thousands of people are without drinking water. The army is on the way to help them, but as the Prime Minister said, the coming 5 days will be very critical indeed for this nation.
Tell me something. What is the sense there? Is this a one-off drought-related event, or is there a wider structural or systemic issue here?
The Prime Minister is certainly believing that the infrastructure under the previous Prime Minister Viktor Orban has not been put into service as should have been possible. He says that the infrastructure was actually underfunded, and he's very concerned about that. However, of course, this is also a very unusual event. This is the first time in 44 years, in fact, that the Pax plant will be out of service, and of course, the Danube is at a record low. So indeed, that plays a role as well. But yes, it can't be underestimated that this crisis has once again put the emphasis on improving the infrastructure in this European Union nation.
So what does this crisis mean politically for the new Prime Minister, Peter Magyar?
Well, that's a very important question because it will be indeed a test of his leadership the coming days. And people say, all right, the Prime Minister is right when he talks about bad infrastructure and he talks about the corruption that also played a role in it. But now it's up to him. Now he will have to prove that he indeed is the leader on whom we voted and whom we wanted to have in office. And of course, that is really the first challenge, I would say, major challenge for him since he was elected Prime Minister in May in this country.
I wonder, I mean, most Hungarians are well aware of the fact that Hungary and the EU haven't always seen eye to eye on a variety of issues, including energy.
Yes.
Now that Brussels is stepping in with an emergency meeting due specifically to this crisis, does that give the EU more leverage over Budapest? And could there be long-term implications here?
Yes, there could be indeed long-term implications, and it gives Brussels leverage. But at the same time, it is easier, I think, to negotiate with Prime Minister Magyar than it was with Prime Minister Orban. And of course, the current Prime Minister has already said that he is ready to invest in more windmills and more green energy. But he said also, we need the help. We are left with an infrastructure that was very much dependent on Russia. He has already indicated that he really wants to look more to the West and more to neighboring countries. And of course, Slovakia is also helping Hungary already. So I think there is some goodwill, I would say, within the European Union to see this through, this amazing crisis, this huge crisis for Hungary.
DW's Stefan Bos in Budapest. Really appreciate it, Stefan.
You're welcome.